Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on the Small Talks channel. So today this is the second video on the PowerBI tutorial series that I have started. So if you have missed watching the first video, the link is there in the I button at the top, so you can go ahead and watch the first video. So in this session today we will be going to cover the data transformation, as well as we will also discuss about Power BI data sets, the feature that is there inside the Power BI. What is that and how we can leverage that information. So let's get inside the Power BI and discuss the topics for today. So right now I'm into the Power BI desktop window over here, and in the right hand side I have those tables that was loaded up over there in the last video: orders, return, and users that I loaded from the single Excel file. So this was something I created, this summarized, so I will just go ahead and delete that. Now before going on to the transformation series, like data transformation, I would really like to talk about Power BI data sets. What is that? So to connect to a Power BI data set, let me just open up a new instance of Power BI. So you can do that by just clicking on Control N, and this is just a trick. So if you are inside any application, if you press Control N, it will open up a new instance of that application. So here I'm opening a new instance of the Power BI desktop. We'll just wait for it to be loaded. So to talk about Power BI data sets, what Microsoft has done is like they have given us a feature wherein once my data is published inside the Power BI service, and if I want to connect to that same data again inside a new Power BI report, I can utilize. So I will practically explain you what is that over here. So this is the new instance of Power BI that is over there. Now in this get data we have Power BI data sets coming up. Just give it a second. So I have two editions of Power BI loaded up inside the system, so sometimes it just takes a little while to load it up, but generally Power BI is fast, way faster than the Tableau actually. Come on. Okay, so we have this get data. Inside this get data we have this Power BI data sets. Okay, now you see something, this publish button over here. So once we are done creating our Power BI report, what we do, we will just click on this publish and publish this report to the different audience. They can go and look into the reports that you have created. Now what happens when we are publishing this report? So the data model, the kind of measures, that everything that you have created gets stored over there. Now if you have to do some enhancement, or if you want to connect back to the same data set, you can take the help of this Power BI data sets. So we will select this Power BI data sets and then just observe what it is coming up over there. So you see, these are the name of the reports that has already been published. Now if I select any one of these reports, I will directly be having access to the data that is stored in those particular reports. So let's say right now in our Power BI file, we were working with superstore data, retail store data. So I will connect to this superstore data over here. So I will just click on the superstore and I will click on this create. Now just observe what is happening over here. So once I have clicked on that create, it will list down all the tables that is there in that particular report. So now you see this auto, calendar, month details, orders, returns. So all these data table are actually present in that superstore dashboard, in that superstore report, and by just clicking on to that Power BI data sets, I am able to bring in all those different fields available over here. Right now I can create more measures onto that and do other sorts of things onto this data. So that portion we will again cover later. So the objective to explain the data set is how we can leverage an already published report into the Power BI service, and how we can bring that data into our Power BI report and utilize that information. Okay, so if you have any doubts regarding that, do let me know inside the comments, and I will create another video explaining the entire procedure once again. Cool. So I will just close this window right now, and we will move into the data transformation series. So coming back to the old data that we have, so we have this orders, returns, and users table. So this is being loaded onto the Power BI desktop. Now, how to do the transformation of the data? So when we are doing this transformation, there will be a different window that opens up, which is known as like Power Query Editor. So there are two options of editing this thing. So you can go inside this edit queries and click on this edit queries and go ahead and start editing your data, or else you can right click on the different table available out here and click on this edit query. So I will right click on this orders table and I will click on this edit query and go inside the Power Query Editor. If you look at the top, it says Power Query Editor over here. So now you are inside a Power Query Editor, and it has enabled you with a lot of different options through which you can transform your data. So you see in the left hand side we have three different tables. So three different tables as in three different queries that is available over here. So we have orders, we have users, and returns. Cool. So in this, what we need to transform, right? So most of the time when you are working with data, your data will be in a very raw form. It might not be very structured. So you need to make it more structured so that you can utilize inside your reporting things. So first thing, so I have just noted it down, the topics that we need to cover for like today's session. So first thing is like we have to understand how to duplicate queries or tables. Right. So in the left hand side, when you're seeing over this orders, users, or return, so let's say if we have to manipulate any data, it's always good to keep a backup table for that, right? So what we are doing here, we are just creating a duplicate of that table. So we'll do a right click and we can create a duplicate of that table. And you see, there has been two orders table that has now been created. One is orders and one is orders 2. We'll just double click and rename that. Okay, like we'll just keep the name as new orders table, and we'll keep it as a backup. Now let's go back to the old table that we have. So as I said, right, so why is it necessary? So that if you are messing up with your raw data, you always have a base data to fall back. So the next thing that we are going to look is at the column headers. Excuse me. Okay. So generally when we are loading a table, always it's not necessary that your header is being picked up correctly. So if I look in this orders table over here, you see all my data headers has been loaded up properly. So this particular thing is giving row ID, this is giving its order priority, and this is giving discount, and this is all proper. Now if I come to the users table, you see here this data has not picked up properly. So you can understand this column 1 and column 2 are not the proper header. The proper header should be region and manager. So if you face this kind of situation wherein your header is not reflecting properly and you have to move the first line of your row as a header, what you can do, you can just click on this option in this drop down over here, and you have this option of use first row as headers. Now the same and now if you can see here that the first row of the data has been moved to the headers. Now the same option is available in the transform section. So if you go in this transform section, there is something called use first row as headers over here. So you can click this and you can use that as a headers option over there. Now coming back to the next transformation. So we are done with duplicate, we are done with the column headers. Now the most important things that we need to check after we have loaded is the data type. So each column, so let's say this row ID, this order priority, this discount, this unit price, each of this column has its own data type, and each of those data type excuse me, so each of this data type is like represented in the left hand corner over here. So 1.2 specifies that this is a decimal number data type. This ABC denotes that okay, this is a text data type. Now if you have to change any of these data type, you can just click on that data type, and you can select the appropriate data type that is required for that column. So just a quick tip over here, that if you are like working with numbers, make sure your numbers are always in the decimal number or in currency. It should not be in the text format, because it will throw up an error. So make sure that you are always checking your numerical fields, so if they are having the right data type or not. Okay, so you can select the option over here and change the data type, or also you can right click on any particular column and you can click on this change type to change the different data types available. Now just a quick information over here. So let's say I have this discount, unit price and shipping cost over here, and if I want to go ahead and change the data type for all three columns that is here, so what I will do, I will select all three, and you can multi-select by selecting pressing Control Shift, and then I will click on shipping cost. So you see all my three columns has been selected at once. Now what you have to do, you have to keep press Control Shift, keep pressing that Control Shift, and then click on this data type and change that. So let's say instead of this decimal number, I want this to be a whole number, so I will select this whole number, and now you see all my data type has been changed to a whole number. So please keep in mind that you have to press Control Shift, then select, and then change the data type so that all the columns will be reflected at once. Okay, so this is to do with the data type. Now moving on to the next segment, we have replace values. Now this is a very important feature of data transformation that we have to do. So most of the time when we are working with data, you will get some nulls, you will get some zeros, and many kind of things which you want to remove from a particular column. So let's say for an example, we have this status column over here, and you see there are like a lot of null available in this one, right? So what I want to do, I want to replace this null with some meaningful text over there. So what we are doing here, we are replacing that null with a certain value of text. So in this case, we'll just right click on this and select replace values, and then I will put in null. So what is the value that we are finding? We are finding null, and this replace with is like we will replacing it with a text. So let's say instead of null, I want to say not applicable. I'm writing not applicable, or let's say I'm just put NA. So, and I will press OK over here, and you see all my data type of null has been changed to an NA over here. Cool. So this feature you will definitely be requiring when you are doing your data transformation. Now let's move to another segment, which is remove columns. Now remove columns is like sometimes when you're working with the data, you don't want some particular fields, because that is again increasing the load size of the file that you're having. So what you can do, you can just remove those particular columns. Let's say I don't need this row ID. This is very vague, right? I don't need this row ID. I have a unique column which is an order ID inside the data. So I can go ahead and remove this column. It's of no use, right? So I can just right click on this particular column and click on this remove, and it will remove that particular column from here. Also, you have an option to keep this column, this row ID column, and remove all the other columns that is there. So what in that case, what I will do, I will select this row ID, and then there is an option called remove other columns. So I will select this, and you see all my data is gone. So in this case, you can remove the different columns that you have. If you want to rename any column that is there, you can just double click on this headers and you can change. So let's say instead of row ID, I will put it as row number. So I will just double click, change the name, and hit on enter, and my header name has been changed. So these are few of the transformation things that I have explained you in this video. I will request you to use the data and start practicing these things. So as we slowly move on in this transformation series and like really get some interesting and advanced things to do, you follow along with me. And as I said in the beginning, if you have not watched the first video, do go ahead and watch the first video so you are in line with the tutorial that is being followed across. So that's it in this video. If you have any doubts regarding this particular video, you can drop in the comments and I will definitely try to respond you back in the next video over there. So till then, keep practicing and have a nice day, and Merry Christmas to all of you.